Have you ever been in a relationship that just feels like constant chaos, where you feel completely lost and confused all the time? Well, if that sounds familiar, this is for you. We're going to pull back the curtain on the playbook of manipulation, really understand the toll it takes, and then, most importantly, lay out a clear path to get out and heal.
I want to start with this question from therapist Jane McGregor because it just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? It's that nonstop feeling of being off kilter, like you're always the one to blame and your life is just one big messy state of confusion. That right there, that's a huge red flag that something is seriously wrong. And before we start throwing around any labels, I want to be really clear about something. The specific word, sociopath, narcissist, whatever, it's not the most important thing. As therapists like Dr. Ramani always point out, what truly matters is the pattern. You have to look at the consistent, repeating behaviors. That's how you'll start to understand what's really going on. So to see those patterns, we need to know what we're looking for, right? It's kind of like opening up an opponent's playbook. We're going to break down the manipulative strategies play by play.
Okay, so this is usually play number 1, love bombing. And we're not talking about just being sweet. This is an over-the-top, too good to be true flood of attention and affection. It's designed to just sweep you off your feet so you completely miss any red flags. The goal is to lock you down in a commitment before their real self starts to show.
The next move is super effective because it weaponizes our own empathy. Dr. Martha Stout calls it an appeal to our sympathy, and she says it's one of the surest signs you're dealing with someone unscrupulous. They hit you with these heart-wrenching sob stories to make you feel sorry for them, to make you feel like you're the only one who can save them. And then there's this one, gaslighting. It is just an incredibly cruel form of psychological warfare. They will lie flat out about things you know they said or did until you start questioning your own memory, your perception, your sanity. Over time, it just destroys your confidence, and you start to feel like you can't even trust your own mind anymore. This is the one that makes the whole thing feel so addictive. It's this insane push-pull cycle. The switch from being so wonderful to being so cruel is completely unpredictable, and it creates this incredibly powerful, confusing bond. It's why, just when you're finally ready to walk away, they pull you back in with a little bit of kindness. It keeps you stuck. And here's what's so important to get. These tactics almost never happen one at a time. No, it's the mix of all of them together, the charm, the nonstop lying, the way they always shift the blame back to you, that creates that constant state of chaos. They might use guilt to isolate you from your friends and family, making you totally dependent on them and so much easier to control.
So now that we've seen the playbook and we've broken down the moves, let's connect these behaviors to the clinical term. Because sometimes just having a name for what's happening can be incredibly validating.
The official clinical term you'll find in the diagnostic manual is antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD. And really, at its core, it boils down to a profound lack of conscience, a consistent pattern of ignoring social rules and violating other people's rights without a shred of remorse.
For a professional to make this diagnosis, an adult has to show at least 3 of these traits pretty consistently, and you can see how the tactics we just talked about, like the pathological lying and the total lack of remorse, are baked right into the clinical definition. There also has to be evidence of a conduct disorder before they were 15.
Now, you probably hear sociopath and psychopath used pretty much interchangeably, but there are some differences worth knowing. Sociopathy is often thought to be more a result of someone's environment. They can be more impulsive, more erratic, and sometimes they can actually form some attachments. Psychopathy, on the other hand, is usually seen as more genetic, more cold, and way more calculating. And if you're wondering just how common this is, well, estimates suggest that about 1 to 4% of the population meets the criteria for antisocial personality disorder. To put that in perspective, that means in a room of 100 people, there could be up to 4 who fit this pattern. So if you've been through this, you are definitely not alone.
You know, the constant arguments and the drama, that's just the stuff you see on the surface. The real damage, the stuff that lasts, is happening underneath. These are the hidden wounds.
And this leads to the biggest, most painful question, right? The one victims ask themselves, and the one outsiders just don't get. Why don't you just leave? The answer has nothing to do with being weak or not smart enough. It's about a powerful psychological hook that gets set by the abuse itself. And that hook has a name. It's called a trauma bond. It's literally an addiction to the abuser, and it's created by that same push-pull cycle we talked about. It's the reason why, even when every logical part of your brain is screaming, "Get out!" you feel this desperate, overwhelming pull back to the very person who's causing all the pain. And the long-term damage is serious. We're talking about things like complex PTSD, chronic anxiety, and just having your self-worth completely dismantled. After being gaslit for so long, it becomes incredibly hard to trust your own gut. And that fear can sabotage your future relationships for years.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's heavy, I know, but understanding it is the first massive step. So now, what do you actually do? Let's walk through a practical, no-nonsense guide to breaking the cycle and starting to heal. These 4 steps are your roadmap out. First, you have to go no contact. Seriously, block them everywhere. Second, document everything. Keep a record to remind yourself of reality. Third, be honest with yourself about those little things, like checking their social media. That can suck you right back in. And finally, figure out your triggers and make a plan to deal with them. Now, this last point, it might be the hardest one to accept, but it's absolutely crucial. You have to let go of the hope that they will change. As Dr. Ramani puts it so bluntly, the chances of that happening are pretty much 0. Your recovery depends on focusing on what you can control, not on waiting for them.
So look, learning this playbook isn't about looking backwards and blaming anyone. It's about taking your power back. Once you can see the moves, you can refuse to play the game. It gives you the clarity you need to close that chapter for good and start writing a brand new one where you're the author, and it's based on safety, respect, and your own happiness.